Hi everyone and welcome back. I've got an interesting video today because we're going to talk about a dual side clutch that I've had happen in my snakes. So we've got Spot here, who's a Pastel Spotnose Clown, and then we've got Jerry climbing on my shoulder here, who is an acid pastel. And they both sired the same clutch. So what happened was a female, who's an Albino Clown, mated once with each of them. I only paired them once with each. And she stored the sperm, and then she used sperm from both males to fertilize the clutch. And that resulted in a small clutch of 4 eggs. One didn't make it, but out of the rest, one was Spot's and 2 were Jerry's. So this is actually, it's not uncommon. It wasn't actually my goal, but it's not uncommon because female ball pythons do store sperm. And this is an evolutionary tactic, kind of a life history trait that we call delayed fertilization. And if any of you have spent much time hunting, you'll have heard of delayed implantation, which is what mammals like roe deer, skunks and black bears do. So they get their egg fertilized by sperm, and then they hold on to that fertilized oblast, I think it's called, I can't remember, over the winter, and then they let it implant in the uterus in the spring. So what the ball pythons do is a bit different. They mate in the dry season, which I think stretches from November to March or something like that in the wild. And then the rest of the year, when it comes into the rainy season, there's a major and a minor rainy season, but they're both rainy seasons. That stretches the other kind of 6 months of the year. During that period, they then release the sperm and fertilize the eggs with it from however many males they've mated with, which is a great way for the male sperm to compete and make sure that the best sperm fertilizes the eggs. So, although we're not exactly sure what apparatus they use to store the sperm, it is referred to as cryptic female choice. Because in honesty, we don't really know how their body decides which sperm to use to fertilize the eggs. Is it down to choice, or is it down to competition between the strength of the sperm that have been stored? Honestly, I really don't know. No one really does know, but lots of people will say a variety of opinions on it. But what this means in captivity is that you can, if you want to gamble, you can have a couple of males paired with one female, and you'll occasionally get a dual side clutch, or it'll be one or the other. And the reason this actually happened with this clutch was because Jerry here wasn't quite up to size. He was big enough to mate, but he wasn't big enough to do well with a lot of females. So I mostly put him with my other female spirit, and then just on the off chance, I put him once with Blake and actually got a baby acid 100% het clown and albino. So this is why dual side clutches are fun, just for a gamble. If your male isn't up to it for the whole season, you can put him in once and you can still get a dual side clutch. And I got a mini Spot from that clutch too, so that's awesome. So before I get, to the point where I'm boring you with the subject, let's head over and check out the babies and see how we know they belong to each one. So this is pretty cool actually. Obviously I mated an acid pastel, who was Jerry, with an Albino Clown female, and I also paired a Pastel Spotnose Clown male with that same female. Paired them once each, and this is what I got. Obviously, you can tell there's 3 snakes that look very different to each other. First, this has to be Jerry's, because there is a normal 100% het for Albino and Clown. And you can tell it's got some really nice kind of het features. It's got a white belly, it's got that nice little stripe that goes down if I can get the camera to focus on it properly. It's got that nice little stripe that goes down the jaw a bit there. And it's just a really nice, bright little baby with some het influence. But because Spot is a clown, and clown to clown makes all clown babies, it's a recessive gene, it can't be Spot's. So that is definitely Jerry's. Next, we've got the one that is definitely Spot's. Because as I said, clown to clown, it's recessive, it makes all clowns. So we've got this cute little female spot-nosed pastel het clown. No, sorry, clown rather. I'm getting confused today. 100% het for albino. So that is a really nice looking little snake actually. And it's also definitely spots. I think I'm gonna, well, I do want to keep her, but realistically I can't keep her because I got no room left. But that is the one I'd really like to keep. And then we got this oddball, which is the odd one out, which is a visual acid. And he's got a little bit of paradox as well. So obviously Jerry's the only acid, so it has to be Jerry's. And this is an acid, 100% het for clown, 100% het for albino. And you can see he's got some cool het influence. He's got that weird stripe that goes almost completely around his head, and that grey patch there is actually a tiny bit of paradox. Sometimes you see paradox that looks really cool and covers, you know, a third of the snake, but he's just got that tiny touch of paradox on his head, but it is quite common in hets. And he's got a really cool black belly. But there it is. When you look at the three of them together, you can tell with absolute certainty that is a dual side clutch, and it's a pretty cool result. So I think we're going to keep the acid, and I'll put the little female Pastel Spotnose Clown and the het clown het for albino up on Morph Market. So if anyone wants one, get in touch. So in conclusion, the dual side clutch phenomena is a really cool thing that happens with ball pythons. It's down to delayed fertilization through cryptic female choice, which refers to the phenomena of females storing the sperm and then somehow using whichever group of sperm to fertilize the eggs. We call it cryptic female choice because we're not really sure how it works. So what I wanted to say about this was that, you know, it is exciting, it produces cool results, and this time it's happened because I was using a tactic where I didn't think my male was large enough and heavy enough to be paired several times with several females and make it through the season in a healthy way. So I used a tactic of pairing that female with Spot first, and then pairing her with Jerry, the acid pastel, about a month later, in the hopes that his sperm would be fresher and that would be the one to fertilize a clutch. And obviously it didn't exactly work. It kind of worked, but it didn't exactly work, because what really truthfully I was aiming for was a whole clutch of acid het clown het albinos. But I would say that in general, a lot of times that tactic does work. So, you know, don't take my advice 100% that it will work, but oftentimes it does. So I just wanted you to think about the fact that if you have a male that isn't quite up to size and you're worried about him getting through a season healthily, it can be an idea to consider putting in a larger male, heavier male for the first few pairings, and then putting in your younger but more valuable male in for the last 1-2 pairings. That is definitely a technique for you to think about if you're breeding, and particularly if you've invested in a young, valuable co-dominant morph like, or dominant morph like acid, for example, or stranger or Wookiee or something like that. That is something to really think about, because the price on them goes down quickly. So, having said that, there are other techniques. And the one technique that I'm not going to recommend is power feeding your males to get them as big and fat as possible, because often it backfires, they go off food, it's not healthy, and it doesn't always work. Stick to strategic breeding if you can. Anyway, I hope this has given you kind of a few interesting facts and shown you some cool babies anyway. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe, and check out the website for more information like this. Thank you.